Hello, everybody. Hello. Oh, so nervous. All right. Hey, guys. Oh, I'm running 5 minutes late. I was trying to get all this set up because I had to turn everything the other way. And you're getting the computer microphone tonight. Just be aware. As is the Let's Go. Oh, Presidential Debate Watch Party. Okay. Going live on TikTok, too. All right. I may have to move my light here. We'll see in a second here. I don't know. We shall see. I may move my light in about 2 seconds. Anyway. Oh, it doesn't matter. Hey, TikTokers, YouTubers. I'm debating whether I move my light, but I don't know if I want to. I don't know. I don't think I want the bright light on me today. Hey, guys. Oh, who is that with the gift? Macabre. Thank you. Ooh. Anyway. Yes, this is the way I can watch the TV. I've got the view the other way, so I actually can watch my TV here. Of course, my countertop is full of crap. Nothing we can do about that. I actually moved stuff. I moved stuff from the kitchen, from the table over here. I'm moving stuff out of the way so it doesn't look like a complete disaster here. Oh, we'll live. You'll live if there's stuff on my counter. Yeah. Lots of garbage on my counter. It's okay. Anyway, welcome everybody. Yep, we are working late tonight. Exactly. Pick stuff up. All right. All right. All right. Good enough. I'm trying to clean up the counter as I talk to you all. YouTube won't let you stream the debate on TV. I'm not going to stream the debate on TV for that reason. I assumed YouTube wouldn't be very happy about it. So you can watch it at home, and we're talking about it. I know this is my new Amazon.com rainbow shirt. It starts in half an hour. You can afford a countertop? I don't even know what that means. I have no idea what that means. Thanks, Jamie. Anyway, so yes, it starts in 20 minutes, 23 minutes. Got on those. So interesting little breaking news. Melania Trump is not attending the debate. She refused to come with Donald. I mean, that family, man. I mean, I don't blame her. I mean, literally, the guy stooped a porn star right after she gave birth, but still, I mean, amazing. So anyway, and I'm not using my good mic tonight, so we're going to have to, oh yes, I've got my Ukraine coffee mug still, but I'm not using my good microphone. So I'm just using the microphones on my computer and my iPad. So, independent creators can't stream the debate. They'll be looking to shut people down quickly. Oh, that's interesting. Well, we may run an issue if you can hear the debate in the background on YouTube. I don't know. We'll see. That could be a risk. We'll see. If YouTube disappears, then know that was the problem. That they could hear Trump and Trump and Biden in the background. They didn't like it, so be aware. Oh, Mrs. Biden's going to be there for sure. Are you kidding? Of course she'll be there. Oh yeah, absolutely, positively she'll be there. Oh, that's good, Amanda. Oh, hey, Melbourne. The debate. Oh, the debate's live. Oh yeah. The debate starts in 20 minutes. Yeah. Thank you, user 336. Good to see you. Thank you, Eva. Okay. You know what? Do I blame Melania? Let me tell you something. Thank you, Squaticles. So, an aunt of mine in Greece, married my uncle in Greece, my mom's first cousin, was very famous in Greek politics. He was, during the 1980s, the defense minister, the foreign minister of Greece, the deputy prime minister, and the United Nations ambassador, all different positions. So very important guy in Greece. Went to see him when, I got the new battery. So they're in for the Greek goat. I'm visiting my uncle and his wife, and they're now in their 90s. I'm visiting them in southern Greece at their home, by the sea, because they're retired, of course. They're in their 90s. And my aunt is telling me that she met Hillary Clinton at the women's, what's it called? The Women's Summit, whatever it was called, in Beijing, like in 1996 or so. It was a very big women's international group, women's meeting in China. And that she met Hillary. And she goes, I met Hillary Clinton, and I went up to her and said, how could you stay with that man? And I said, you did not. She goes, I did. Greek feminist, right? Greek feminist, has the balls, right? So she goes, I told Hillary Clinton, how could you stay with that man? And thank you, Ernie. And I said to her, I said, the thing is, Hillary put in all this time. This is now about Melania and Donald, though. But I said, Hillary put all this time in helping, Bill become president, staying throughout the presidency. And it's her time now. Like, she wants to be senator. She wants to run for president. He needs to help her, So and I said, thank you, Rose. So I said, I can see why she stayed with him, because he owes her. And, now that she helped him become president, she's going to dump him, and then he's not going to help her. And my aunt turned to me and said, your self-respect is more important than a job. And I was like, ooh. It was like, ooh. Thank you, Running. But I thought it was and thank you, Cheryl. I thought it was a very interesting observation. It was like, so, the Melania thing, I don't know. And again, it's Hillary Clinton too. I don't know how to judge, right, women or husbands or whoever who stay with bad spouses, right? There's lots of reasons they do it. I think it's hard to judge them. They may actually love them still, right? Thank you, Lori. Maybe I have a hard time believing Melania loves Donald, but who knows, right? For that matter, she could have a prenup with him that if she leaves him, she loses all the money, for that matter, right? So you don't know. But it's still, Melania Trump was a birther. She was putting out all the stuff about Obama being from Africa and stuff. So, I want to have sympathy for Melania, but I also kind of feel like she made her bed quite literally, So I don't know. And, they have a son who's finally 18 now. He was in high school. Is she going to really leave the kid? I can see that. But then again, she married the man, and, it's kind of obvious who he is. I don't know. I have no idea what to think of Melania, but the fact that she wouldn't show up for the debate, to some degree, decide what you want to do. If you're going to stand by the man, stand by him. But if you're not, then leave him. But don't do this weird. She does this where she does this weird little stands by him, doesn't stand by him. I don't know. I know, Chase, I've been getting those nasty texts too. It drives me crazy. Sort of text message spam, Anyway, oh la 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 la. Yeah, she's not going to get deported, but I wouldn't be surprised if she has a prenup, prenuptial or something, Anyway. Thank you, Creep. Oh, they're going to talk about inflation. Trump is going to talk nonstop about inflation, clearly. Thank you, Creep. The thing that gets me too is like, the problem is people forget. I was watching CNN earlier, and they interviewed some woman where they asked the woman, is your life better now than 4 years ago? And she goes, well, I don't know. Maybe a little bit. And you're kind of like, 4 years ago, everybody was dying. We were locked down. People, I know a Greek woman in New York who died of COVID. We have my first cousin's husband died of COVID. We were locked down. I couldn't see my mother for a year and a half, who was in her 90s, right? Donald Trump was pretending COVID didn't exist and wasn't a problem and all this bullshit. And people are like, are you better off now than 4 years ago? When literally 4 years ago, we were in a pandemic and the guy literally ignored it. And then, which my favorite is, I'm sorry, but when Trump supporters like to talk about, well, Donald Trump made the vaccine. You mean the vaccine that Donald Trump and all the rest of you then convinced all of America not to take? The vaccine that you all still claim was poison and didn't work. I mean, like, pick your team here, but to look back 4 years ago and say things aren't better now just drives me insane. And again, I think Americans are spoiled. Young Americans, older Americans, they're all spoiled. Thank you, Christopher. They're spoiled as hell. Yeah, inflation went up. Guess what? Inflation went up around the world because of COVID. After COVID, inflation went up worldwide. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. That's not Joe Biden. That's post COVID. Yeah. It's just, God. Biden made everyone wear a mask. Actually, that was Donald Trump. That was Donald Trump. That was during Donald Trump that we were literally strapping paper, cloth across our face and everything else. How quickly you guys forget. Donald Trump shut down the country. Okay? So, again, the Trump supporters want to play these freaking, not to mention, by the way, masks work, you freaking moron. Masks work. I still love that Trump supporters pull that crap too. Although, frankly, honestly, not even Trump supporters. He's a Russian. Okay, this guy's a paid troll. Okay, it took me a second there. I can say he's a paid troll. Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, it's the paid troll. No, but the people bringing up the mask, I could tell that guy was a troll. He wasn't just a Trump supporter. He was a paid troll. But yeah, no, they're still playing the game on the masks and stuff. Again, but according to that guy was fake though. The Communist Party bots yet? No. We tend to get we get the Russian ones. We always get the Russian ones nonstop. Oh, that's true. But guys, this is what is so. What about the illegals in our country? You might want to ask Donald Trump about that, because Donald Trump killed the deal to cut off the border 3 months ago. Actually, it was the beginning of February. Trump killed the deal. It was a deal. By the way, Google all of this. You will find Republican senators telling you this. They were pissed at Donald Trump because it was a conservative Republican deal from the United States Senate. Senator James Langsford from Oklahoma, who is a conservative Republican, came up with a deal to basically shut down the border. Democrats caved and went along with it. Democrats didn't demand amnesty or anything. And what happened? Trump got upset. And by the way, conservative Republican senators are the ones telling you this. Google it. Donald Trump got upset because he said, you can't have a border deal with Biden because I need to run on the border for the election. And if I can't run, if there aren't illegals crossing the border come November, I can't run on it. I need to attack Biden. Trump killed the deal. He ordered Republicans in Congress to kill the border deal, and they killed it. We've got millions of people crossing our border this year because Donald Trump wanted them to come. And by the way, Google it. Handle the trolls, mute them all. I don't want you to handle them. If they're trolls, mute them. You know how to do the trolls. Again, somebody disagreeing politely, I don't care. Thank you, Vaughn. But as soon as somebody starts being a dick, just mute them. You know the difference. But no, it pisses me off. But again, but by the way, you won't hear Joe Biden saying this. Where have Democrats been on the border, right? Donald Trump killed the border deal. He killed the border deal in February. It would have basically shut down the freaking border. Donald Trump killed it. Where have Democrats been for the last 6 months? Well, 5 months, talking about the fact that Donald Trump is responsible for every illegal entering the country since January. Thank you, Addie. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Vaughn, right? Nobody says it. But this is what worries me about Biden is I don't think Biden never had it in him. He's not a good salesman. And Democrats overall, I've told you guys this before, don't feel the need to sell themselves. They don't feel the need to sell arguments. People on the left think, good news sells itself. This sort of crazy idea that if we're in the right, people will understand. No, they won't, because guess what? Lies sell. It's anyway. Oh, it's so annoying. So freaking annoying. I will say, like I said, the border thing. Well, the border thing's funny. Democrats were not great on it. Absolutely not. Trump, the problem is Trump was a joke on the border too. See, this is what bothers me. Is the problem is you get certain issues like the border where Democrats were bad on it because they wanted Latino votes. Let's admit it, right? Republicans Donald Trump was like this classic bullshit Republican where he didn't want to solve the border problem. He just wanted to do. Republicans, unfortunately, today like slogans. They don't like fixing problems. They want slogans, right? They want to put the Bible in schools and the 10 Commandments. They just put another state just put Bible teaching in schools now. They're going to teach the Bible. Last week, they put the 10 Commandments on the walls of every school in the state. Republicans nowadays like these sort of bullshit solutions that aren't solutions, but they sound good. And that drives me, and I hate that. I hate that in politics from the left, and I hate it from the right, because it's people who are lying to you and trying to trick you. Donald Trump said he was going to build a border wall. Guess what? He didn't. Okay? Thank you, Ellie. We've got, I mean, how many like, thousands of miles of border with Mexico? He didn't build the damn wall. Google it. He built like a couple hundred miles, he repaired a couple hundred miles of fences, no new wall. There's about 50 miles of new wall that Donald Trump built. 50 miles, guys, okay? He claimed he was going to build a wall. He didn't, okay? This is the problem is like Democrats, certain problems like immigration, they really don't want to fix, to be honest. And Republicans just want to give you bullshit and they pretend like they're fixing it. I will say this, Biden did shut down the border though, finally. A couple of weeks ago, Biden finally came through, and he should have done this months ago, but Biden came through, and that Republican proposal that Democrats agreed to and that Trump killed back in February, Biden finally said, I'm doing it anyway, and I'm going to make it even more strict. So the Republican proposal was once there's like 5,000 people a day illegally or whatever the hell it is, or asylum, they would like shut down the border for asylum seekers. Biden said, we're going to have it be 2,500 people who cross illegally. So basically making it twice as strict as what the Republicans want, making it twice as hard for migrants or whatever, then more conservative, more Republican, he made it. But again, that was 3 weeks ago. Do you hear the magical? You're going to have to turn up your hearing aid. Nothing I can do about it. I'm using my iPad and my computer. The volume should be fine. TikTokers overall, is the volume fine? I can't use my good microphone today because I'm facing the other way so I can see the TV. Yeah, you just got to turn up the sound or put in a headset or something. Anyway. Oh my God, it drives me crazy. Your hearing aid is scratching. All right, good. Yeah, I can't use my microphone, so it's got to just be the normal, although the sound should be okay. iPad sound usually is pretty good, as is my computer. It just isn't going to be the same quality, The debate starts in 8 minutes. So, oh man. You can hear in Australia? That's right. Australia, the timing is good for you guys. It's 9 a.m. or whatever, I'm assuming, right? The debate rules do not apply to my microphone. True. Although once the turn the temperature down soon. What do you mean, in my apartment, you mean, or what? Although my apartment, the temperature always goes, like right now, it actually is a little warm again. It always goes back and forth whenever I'm doing the show. I'll put the air on at least. Well, I've got my phone separate today, so at least I can actually look at the phone. Actually, I'm gonna pull up Twitter too, so like just in case I can look at what people are saying online as well. But yeah, once the show starts, I want to listen in. So I'm not going to be talking over the debate, right? That was something I did not want to do. Public schools are under the separation of church and state. They are. Now, what Republicans are arguing, which is insane, there are Ukrainian highlights, but I don't even remember what they are. I did several videos on YouTube and TikTok. The Czech government sent the first 50,000 artillery shells to Ukraine. There was a couple more here. Deep. Shoot, I had a couple things here. Russian official called for the complete destruction of Ukraine until there's nothing left. Lovely. Russia's losing 1,000 soldiers on the battlefield every day last month. We knew that before, but there was sort of another article on it. There are a couple other things I don't recall now. I did report on this the other day, but I don't remember. Hey, Ginger. Thank you, Succeed. What was I looking for? Oh, I know. I was just going to look here. Yeah, so 5 minutes, and then we begin. Dun, dun, dun. Doop. I had a friend who threatened they were going to come live and watch my show. My mom does that too. I don't think my mom knows I've got this on tonight. She likes to watch the show live. I'm like, no, no. But she does anyway. Bill Cobbs, is that a baseball thing, or I don't know what that is? That was one of the stories. Yes, Colin. Israel is negotiating with the U.S. and Ukraine over the disposition of 8 Patriot missile systems. But we don't know we don't know if any of them are going to Ukraine. We don't know if all of them are going to Ukraine. Israel is phasing them out and using something else. But now, because there's concern of a war with Hezbollah, funny. Okay. Hold on a second. Like a friend's texting me. Beep, 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 beep. I love this. Friends texting me, have I missed anything? I'm like, I'm kind of busy right now. This is funny. The friend that was going to watch us out with his parents. I'm like, okay, kind of live, can't talk. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sandria, for the gifts. Thank you, guys. Anyway, yeah. So Israel's got 8 Patriot missile batteries. It is talking with the U.S. and Ukraine about possibly sending some to Ukraine. That would be huge. Thank you, Ginger. But because of concerns of a possible war with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, that may get Israel to not want to, not want to give them up. So we don't know. I'm making sure my TV is up to date here. But it would be really good and important if Israel were to do that. Oh, hey, Callum, you're Callum's with us, even though it's horrific hour in the night. My friend's messaging me again. Yes, I'm live. TikTok and YouTube. It's like crazy friends. Yes, I'm live. Thank you, Sandria. Hey, Nond. Yeah, the top shelf is a sort of big thing I got in an estate sale. That one's really neat because that is an old whale oil lamp from Greece, going back to, we think, at least 1860 or so. We think earlier. It was in my grandmother's old house that when we went back and nobody was living there when she left Greece, Mom went back and found it in the house. So that goes back. That one's neat. The second one for you guys. Oh, you guys can see too. For you guys, we're talking about this. This is this old whale oil lamp from my grandmother's house in Greece that we think goes back to at least, I was Googling it, at least 1860 probably. Could go back to the early 1800s. We don't know. But it's neat because it's super old and brass or whatever, and obviously will never be cleaned, because it's like, 100, or what would it be? Oh, yeah, 1860, 1960. That would be 180, 160 years of. Apparently, I had Googled it. Whale oil was a big thing in Europe in the 1800s. Yeah, I got my JD at Georgetown, Claudia. Whale oil was a big thing in Europe, and I think Greece and everywhere else. Whale oil was a very prominent kind of oil back then, which I know blew my mind when I saw it. I just thought that was crazy, All right. All my friends are now. I got more friends texting. I'm like, stop! Oh my God. Okay, CNN is getting very close now. Slowly turning up the volume here. Oh, hey, Bo and Gothenburg. It is a little late, huh? Oh boy, I am not doing a drinking game during the debate, in part because I have no idea how YouTube might be able to handle it. TikTok, I doubt. Thank you, Chaz. I doubt TikTok would handle a drinking game. Also, I can't drink. I mean, I don't drink much. So like, even if I had a glass of wine, as soon as I start drinking at all, I get fuzzy headed. So like, the last thing I would want is to have a coherent conversation, even with a slight buzz. I'm fuzzy headed, you know. Hey, life and fun. So no game for you, just drinking, says Russell. I can appreciate that one too. But yeah, let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Oof, man, scary stuff today. Oh. Oh. Okay, Tapper is beginning. It's being hosted by two CNN reporters, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. We shall see. Yeah, that's good, Drake. Yeah, the mics are off until it's your turn to talk. Exactly.
We're live from Georgia, a key battleground state in the race for the White House. In just moments, the current U.S. president will debate the former U.S. president as their party's presumptive nominee.
Pointing the camera to the TV is going to be, well, actually, TikTok, hang on, I have an idea. Oh, I'm glad you said that, Rez. Hold on. I have an idea. Hold on. I don't know if it's going to let me, though. It may not. Flip camera? No. Video. Shoot. TikTok does have settings for playing with the camera, as if I could figure it out. Subscription, enhance. No. Shoot. There's a, I don't want to, yeah, but if I flip it, then you can't see me. Mirror video, hold on, I'm kind of looking here. Mute microphone, pause live, settings. Huh. Yeah, I don't think there's any way for me to. Yeah, I don't get this. I thought there was a way to do a picture-in-picture on TikTok, dual camera setting, but I don't know where that is. Yeah. I thought of sitting on the couch. The problem is I've got my laptop and my iPad. It's a disaster. It would be very difficult. So. Difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. Hang on here. There is no studio audience tonight. Yeah, no studio audience, which is interesting. Campaign staff are not permitted during the debate. By accepting our invitation to debate both candidates. Yeah, there is no extra camera. I mean, I can flip the camera for you guys. Then, of course, you're looking at the. I mean, I could. Oh, that was mirror the camera. Never mind. One moment. Where's the damn camera setting? Oh, making life hard here.
And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
It's not even letting me flip my camera. TikTok's being evil. There are no settings. I wish there were. Yeah, it's not letting me do anything for fun with my settings.
Is their top concern.
All right, let's hear that.
President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president, what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. Pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach in your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out a position where we have 800,000 manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come from a household where the kitchen tables and things weren't able to be met during the month was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things.
Biden's
That's why I'm working
got
hard
a
to make
sore
sure
throat tonight or
we
something.
deal with those problems. And we're
Which
gonna
is
make
odd.
sure we reduce the price of housing. We're gonna
Thank you,
make sure
Tom.
we build 2 million.
Oh, hey, Red Duke.
We're gonna make sure we cap
Cool.
rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination that was left in the
Somehow
corporate
I flipped
greed
my-
is driving this problem right now. In
I don't
addition
know
to
how I
that,
did it before.
we're in a situation where if you had to take a look at all that was done in this administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We made sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people. To $15
He's a little hoarse.
for an insulin shot as opposed to $400.
Trump looks angry.
No seat has to pay more than $200
Trump's going,
for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year.
this is
The
Trump.
situation is we're gonna make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table.
Where's the,
And that's what we're gonna get done.
Thank you, President Trump.
We're the greatest economy in the history of our country, and we have never done so.
the economy was stronger under Obama.
Everybody
Thank you.
is amazed by it. Other countries were
Just
copying
lies.
this. We got
Such a
into
liar.
COVID, and when we did, we spent
Uh-huh.
the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in the Great Depression, the likes of which we had in
There you
1929. By the time we finished, we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country, but other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only job
Stock market's at its highest level today in history. Trump says the stock market was higher. Highest today in history.
He's done a poor job, and inflation is killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you, President Biden.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks we have the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He has the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's had lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant in the military. You know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. Truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump,
Troops did die under Trump.
Follow up if I can.
You want to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose.
Well, his voice is hoarse tonight, which is not good.
Coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
Not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that.
Yes,
He
you
also
can.
said He inherited
Yes, you can.
No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history.
It was literally Trump's
President
treaty
Trump, over the last
that
8
Biden
years,
implemented
both of your administrations,
to get us out of
the national
Afghanistan.
debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt. Well, so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred that tax spirit. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out, he did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job.
So he claimed credit for the vaccine, but then gets upset that we wanted people to take it.
Throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done.
Spamming.
We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage
He's spamming, though,
country,
which isn't bad. He's hitting 20 different
why
points.
He allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
And he had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one.
Yeah,
Number two,
he did.
he had $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. Now, what I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, it would raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, childcare, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
Was right, he did beat Medicare, he beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare, they're putting them on Social Security.
What?
They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Janet?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, and getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this.
These answers are long. I mean, they give them, they're letting them answer. This is the amount of time they agreed to, but it feels long.
We brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who said the state should be able to have it. We're a state where in 6 weeks, you know if you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women to be raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters. It's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state line.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Consider the most
this is where you get
dangerous
Biden
place
being
anywhere in the
old, because he should hit back and go, you literally are the reason people are crossing the border illegally this year. You killed the deal. But
And it's a
he's,
terrible thing. As far as
he is old,
concerned,
you know?
It's not back with the states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have, everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that, this is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last, no politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're gonna do. And if I'm elected, I'm gonna restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, former governor of Virginia, put the baby down.
I know, it's like, get him.
So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican, nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only woman's life is in danger, she's gonna die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period.
The Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals.
See,
not the
again,
Republicans.
Biden's bad at
51
messaging.
years, that was the law.
Sorry.
51 years constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years.
On abortion,
Taken away because this guy, who's very conservative.
Republicans have a losing argument.
Takes credit for taking it away. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board, at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he gonna sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, but made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure that the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now they're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border legally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do. More border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons. People that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation, because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who was great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just keep doing. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming out in terrorists.
President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything across the border is one who came along and killed 3, and his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person coming in his administration, killed 3 American soldiers, That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorists ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second, he said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi, and Soleimani, the two greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world.
You got the names right.
Huge impact on
Give him that.
everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be, he just doesn't know. He opened the borders, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast, because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street, they're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care, he doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half, because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he says is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since they passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next door to those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for a P-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery, he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker, you're the loser.
President Trump.
Oh.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in the third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taking better
Such
care.
a liar.
I'm so glad this came up. And
He's such a liar.
There's nobody that's taken better care of
His chief of staff of the White House, who's a former general, a Marine Corps general, decorated, said Trump told him our vets are suckers and losers. And Trump saying he made it up. Sure he made it up.
Just like the 51
Sure.
intelligence agents are made up. Just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking, it's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing on your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
okay. That's fine.
And they now are their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country
That's fine.
is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right, thank you so much.
The topic of foreign policy, I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its 3rd year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him.
Trump's
They think
starting to
he's
get
the worst
pissed, which is good.
Commander in chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had.
He's
They
starting to
can't
get
stand him.
pissed.
So let's get that straight.
That's good.
And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information.
He's finally
As far
pissing
as
Trump
Russia
off.
and Ukraine.
That's good.
We had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin. He would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, and he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost.
I don't think he
But
did.
should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years
What?
by Hamas.
What?
You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He didn't wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never said that.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
Answer the question.
Keeping territory in Ukraine.
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? You think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine and from weapons we make here in the United States, we give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies produce as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one,
Good question.
everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas, number one. They're the only ones standing up. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finally saying the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they're greatly weakened Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just getting back to Ukraine for 1 second.
Good to Ukraine.
We have a tension separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us.
No,
Why
no.
doesn't he call
Europe has
us?
spent more than we have, actually, about twice as much.
To put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary
He's
General
lying.
of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen.
He's lying.
They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting old. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent. And
We're not.
It's a bigger impact on them.
He's lying about this. Europe has spent twice as much on Ukraine as we have. Absolutely, positively.
And Hamas.
Absolute lie.
Israel's the one that wants to go. You said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe. What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. What happens then? He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just in Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they
He won't answer the.
made great trade deals with the European.
He won't answer the questions.
Because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States.
Amazing.
And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only
He won't answer the questions. He could going back to Ukraine.
NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this. I said, no,
Wow.
I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay.
Answer the
They asked me
question.
that question. Would you
Palestine.
against Russia at a very secret?
It would
meeting
depend.
28
Yeah, Jeremy.
states at
It would
the time,
depend on
nations
what?
at that time. And they said,
You
no, if
know?
you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came.
Okay, let's get something straight. YouTubers, you're fine, but we've got some people on TikTok who don't seem to have understood that they joined a TikTok live. If you don't want somebody talking during the debate, you need to turn off TikTok and go watch your television. But you don't join a TikTok live to watch some guy watch the debate and then get upset that the guy occasionally talks. So leave right now, go watch your TV, or you'll be muted next time you complain. So anybody who complains right now, Ash, mute them. Just mute them all. All right. But I love people who come here. You guys crack me up. But this way we can winnow them out really quick.
January 6th, we were energy independent.
Yeah.
January 6th, we had the
I love
lowest
that.
taxes ever.
What are you doing
We
here?
had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watch the news.
Nancy Pelosi?
On tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they said. But she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her, and she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day.
He's blaming Nancy Pelosi for January 6th now.
She said, I take full responsibility.
He just, this is the problem, is he makes shit up.
Look,
This is the problem.
he
Yeah.
encouraged those folks about the Capitol Hill, number one. I
Yeah,
sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, being begged by his vice president and one of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he will not forgive them for what they've done. You know, and they've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out, and now he says that he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that there could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, and you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that, they saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing.
Peaceful patriotic.
Unselected committee.
Jesus Christ.
Basically, too horrible.
He's defending the insurrectionists.
Gone now, out of office.
Unbelievable.
Democrats, all Democrats. They destroyed
Unbelievable.
and deleted all of the information they found because
He's literally defending the fucking insurrection.
and they deleted
Unbelievable.
and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon, this man I'm looking at right now.
Woo!
And the fact of the matter is,
Good.
what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And
Yeah.
all those people, every one of those who were convicted deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices,
Disgusting.
turned over
Yeah.
desks, turned over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him those first two debates we had, the first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boy? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by.
Yeah, that's right.
The idea he's refusing to.
Yeah.
Will you denounce these guys? You denounce the people we're talking about now? You denounce the people who attack that Capitol? What are you gonna do?
I mean, Biden's doing better. Trump's getting a little more
I'm gonna
annoyed,
give you a
but
minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the select committee on January 6th going to jail. But your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations.
and the response is neither my son nor you should be president. That's the response.
Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion if you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. We're not going to do anything.
Oh, God.
Unless you change your prosecutor.
He just, again, he lies about
This
everything.
man is a criminal.
This is what's so hard.
You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
God.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir.
Yeah.
You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star,
Woo!
while your wife was pregnant?
Oh, God.
Well, what are you talking about? You're in the walls of an alley cat.
Oh,
Sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official at DOJ into the Manhattan
Biden got
DA's
him.
office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat.
morals of an alley
Prosecutor were all
cat.
High-ranking Democrats appointed people, and both the
Oh,
civil
my.
and the criminal. He basically
The
went
morals
after
of an
his
alley
political
cat.
opponent because he thought it was going to
Oh.
damage me. But when the public found out about
Oh.
these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases on the road coming on. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face.
Whoops.
I don't know what the jury will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? You ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved around the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wouldn't have run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas, torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic choir they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the one," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic choir, carrying swastikas were fine people? This is the guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are.
He did.
Good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense for American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out, because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency is, without question, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's all over the place. Every anchor has every.
Trump literally said there were very fine people on both sides, referring to the fucking Nazis in Charlottesville.
It's a
And then he had dinner with a fucking neo-Nazi, Nick Fuentes. I mean, unbelievable.
It debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president.
Thank you, Russell.
And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying that. His own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So
True.
Why? They know him well. They serve him.
What's interesting is how much Trump denies the stuff he's done. That's the interesting. All right, commercial. What's interesting to me is, and this is fascinating with MAGA Republicans, they're always denying the stuff they've done, and he's always denying the stuff he said, right? The stuff he says about the troops, he denies it. The stuff he says about the alt-right and the neo-Nazis, he then denies it. It's like, at least be proud of who you are. If you're going to suck up to neo-Nazis, then be proud of it, right? At least admit it. But this is what sort of gets me with the MAGA crowd is they adopt the most extreme. They're anti-abortion. They want to ban all abortions in the country. They want to ban contraception. But then when you call them out on it, they freak out and they deny it. And maybe that's part of the whole point of having a radical agenda is you want to push stuff to the extreme, but at the same time, you know that if you get called out on it, you'll fail, right? That's all I can think of. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can maybe turn I sort of figured out finally how to turn the screen on TikTok, but it's not easy to switch back. And of course, yes, that's okay. I don't care. Where is this? Hang on. I'm going to see. Not easy to switch this though. Enhance. God, TikTok, you make this so hard. Oh, maybe it's under guests. Was it under guests? It is under guests. Here it is. There we go. Okay. I can do this until I start the show again. No, Biden's doing better. Biden was terrible in the first part, clearly. He's doing better now. Biden sucks at this stuff. He always has. Biden sucks at debating. He sucks at marketing. He sucks at arguing. Trump was pretty sane the first half hour of the show, maybe the first half hour for sure. Yeah, I am wearing a rainbow, Lexi. You don't like rainbows? Like, do you hate puppies and kittens too? So, what were we saying before Lexi freaked out about a rainbow? Oh, RFK can't be in the debate unless he gets enough support. You know. Thank you, Dawn. We do have a lot of viewers tonight, and TikTok got upset and restricted you from sharing the show or something because I was showing my TV screen. So who knows? Oh, trolls. Mods, now you can go to town on the trolls. I wanted to wait a bit and see who was just, I don't mind the pro-Trumpers, obviously. That's fine. Thank you, Annie. But as you guys know, I don't want, TikTok, of course, we're having a lot of trolls today. But you guys know how it works. I don't mind the Trumpers. I don't want trolls. And I wanted the first half of the show to be basically getting a sense of who these guys were. Now we can tell who they are. So anybody who's being an idiot, get rid of them. Anybody who disagrees, I'm fine with that. Somebody doesn't like Biden, that's fine. You know? Thank you, Lamb Chop. But yeah, Biden sucked the first part, absolutely sucked. Trump did very well the first part. Trump did not come across crazy. He didn't come across angry. He was quite sane. I mean, really, the first part, Trump was great, and Biden sucked the first part. Biden got under Trump's skin. Trump is getting more annoyed now, which isn't helping. Biden is old. I mean, there's just no way around it. You know, Biden's old, and he's always going to come across old, and Biden just doesn't do a good job actually doing stuff. Do I like Biden? Biden's fine. You know what I mean? The thing is, like is a funny word to use, right? I don't dislike Biden. He's fine. He's a little old. You know, I think he's a little old. That's it. Thank you, Blue Ariel. But there's nothing wrong with him. He's right. We've got the best economy in like 40 or 50 years, right? I mean, the stock market is the best it's ever been. COVID, Trump literally ignored COVID and got millions of Americans killed. Biden turned it around. I mean, the only thing you can push Biden on is inflation. Sorry, show starting again. I'm not going to show the screen, TikTok, because TikTok got upset last time I showed the screen. I'll put the sound up.
What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
I acknowledge you made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there are more small Black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of Black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. In addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that Black families have to make relative to childcare is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce Black childcare costs. I cut them in half. We're going to make sure we provide childcare costs. We're going to make sure, because when you provide enough childcare protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done.
Chocolate bread
We've done a great deal so far.
that I made yesterday.
You have 49 seconds left.
Oh,
What
right.
do you say to Black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any Black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those Black families and the Black individuals who provided and had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years, their student debt, all the rest was forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for Black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing Black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled, tripled, and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him
Quadruple price of food?
Essentially no inflation.
Not exactly.
It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now. And it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people.
Black jobs?
They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're gonna see something that's gonna be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back.
Right.
50% unemployment.
Right.
He decimated the economy. He decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at
Right.
the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals
Right.
in rural communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they had health insurance. We have covered, with the ACA has increased, I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off with health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again. And they're going to try again if they win. We find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing it, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Let me just go back to what he said.
Oh my God!
How close the police.
Answer the question.
Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump.
Not the ones who died on January 6th.
And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name, and he called it to them, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea. It was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with that in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population, because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started.
So Hispanic people are pouring into the country and taking Hispanic jobs?
8 seconds left.
That's what you respond to
Will
Trump.
you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air. And we had H2O. We had the best numbers ever,
Wow.
and we were using.
He literally won't answer the question.
All forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
No.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that he said is true. I passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We found ourselves, by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college.
Note that Trump literally didn't answer the question on climate change at all. He refused to say a word on climate change, and the question was climate change. If you care about climate change, he's going to do absolutely nothing and set it backwards. Right? It's like, you know.
He hadn't done a damn thing with the environment. He, out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord, I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius, and then there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants them to do all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was gonna cost us $1 trillion.
Oh, here we go.
Nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones who was costing us money. Nobody else was paying it.
Now, the moderators have basically decided to let the candidates question each other. They're not questioning the candidates as follow-ups, and they should. They should go after Biden and Trump both and say, okay, you said this, but what about this, right? Or you didn't answer the question. They're letting the candidates do it, which is a decision, but I think it's a wrong decision. They're not moderating. They're just literally. You could have had a screen posing the questions. You know, you don't need them there.
We're taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Oh my God! These guys literally talked about cutting Medicare and Social Security, and he's accusing Democrats of trying to kill it.
The only ones of consequence.
God.
We're not.
Oh.
We're not members of.
But this is what he does.
How can
This
we
is what he
make
does.
the United
You
States
know?
can't get under control.
I
One
mean,
of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant
God.
progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We've made significant progress. We'll continue to make progress. We set up a climate corps. There's thousands of young people who learn how to deal with them, just like Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements and cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate.
Yeah.
I've not seen any indication of that.
Yeah.
And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, voluntarily. I make sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
yeah.
Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of
Yeah.
their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're gonna, I'm proposing that everybody,
That's right.
the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I've not raised the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1%.
Basically, of course, Biden does a shitty job explaining. You only pay Social Security on like the first 110,000 or 120,000 of your money, and you don't pay Social Security tax on the rest of your money at all. Only the first 120,000. That's it. And it's stupid.
Because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that he supports, is in fact wanting to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. One thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they in fact are a part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants, another $8,000. Anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward the tuition. You just don't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, Vice President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen that he can look you in the face. So many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine, and everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and sucker story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security,
God.
he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increase and go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted to him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of childcare, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of childcare in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of childcare for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make childcare more affordable?
And just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we had 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot.
But I honestly, 19 people didn't hear me say it. Well, there's 10 billion people that didn't hear me talk tonight to you guys. That doesn't mean I didn't say it. Like, it doesn't matter if you find 19 people who go, I didn't hear it. You weren't there.
This guy didn't fire anybody. He never fired.
God.
He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst?
You should say I'd fire you.
Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people? Many from
Actually, he ought to say, Donald, I fired the most important person. I fired you in 2000, and I'm going to fire you again in 2024. Again, if Biden were quicker, that would be my answer. Donald, I fired you.
This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He's the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We're the finest military in the history of the world. The finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're good. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking.
They did talk about abortion. You know, Biden was incoherent and Trump pretended like he's stopping America from having abortions after birth. That was the whole discussion.
They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with childcare. He did virtually nothing with childcare. We should significantly increase the childcare tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men single parents to be able to go back to work, and we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President
childcare
Biden.
facilities.
President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make childcare more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have Poland, we have other things that they're rid of the worst. Because what he's done
See,
is so
he's
bad.
not going to answer the question, and the moderators aren't going to call him on it.
And they rate me one of the best, okay? And
CNN's literally not moderating this debate.
I will be the best.
They're not fucking moderating the debate at all.
Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like
I mean,
us.
it's absolutely unbelievable.
He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times.
They're just simply
He
not.
wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times.
Yeah.
Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I grew up and I
Jeez.
see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business.
God.
Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country.
Chris Wallace would do a better job than
Worst
this.
president in history by far,
Yeah.
and everybody knows
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about it. He's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise the tax on anybody that makes less than $400,000. I didn't. These tariffs, 10% tariffs, everything coming into the country, you know what the economists say? That's gonna cost the average American $2,500 a year more, because they're gonna have to pay the difference in food and all the things that are important. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class has been devastated by it. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. We have the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy.
It was under you.
With China.
The deficit rose more under Trump than under Biden.
From China.
It's just this is the problem, is they lie about everything. That's what's so freaking annoying about this. It's like Republicans simply cannot tell the truth about their policies. I mean, at least own it. If you want to spend more money than Democrats, own it. Every freaking Republican administration has left us with a larger deficit. The Democrats have cut the deficit every time. Biden cut it versus Trump every time. And they lie about it. They want to spend the money, but they want to lie about it. It's like, God.
You keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
Ugh.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well in addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way.
What?
And then we had to get tough.
COVID derailed addiction?
Exploring across the border.
What?
They started doing.
He's making this up now. He doesn't have an answer on addiction. He doesn't know the topic. He doesn't know the topic.
Thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting.
He doesn't know the topic.
Very, very low numbers.
Yeah.
When he came along, the numbers. Have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low.
He doesn't know the topic. He's bullshitting now.
But the numbers of the amount of drugs, and
that's why he doesn't know the answer to the question. Yeah.
Across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use a machinery that can detect fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together. It's bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all over the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues and said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended remain in Mexico.
Oh, look at him!
Catch and release. I made it.
Look at this!
In Mexico.
This is relevant to it.
We had
And he goes back to immigration again.
Hard negotiations with Mexico.
Unfucking believable.
It's just like when you have a hostage. We always get
Unfucking believable.
Every time we say a hostage. We
God.
have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter.
It's unbelievable.
And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of
It's
dollars.
like, Jake, say you still didn't answer the question.
I will have him out very quickly.
God.
As soon as I take off.
You still didn't answer the question.
I said, by literally,
Oh,
as soon as I win the
God.
election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago.
Oh.
But Putin's probably.
He's talking about
asking
Russia
for
now.
billions of dollars.
The question is fentanyl.
Every time. We had 2 cases. We paid $6 million for 5 people. I got
Fentanyl.
50
He's talking about Russia.
And I paid essentially nothing.
I can't flip the screen. TikTok got upset.
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you.
God.
President Biden, you would be 86 at
God.
the end of your second term.
Unbelievable.
How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger, and a lot less confident. I think that just look at the record, look at what I've done, look how I turned around the hardest situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people, the whole idea of computer chips. We used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call it, to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. They don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the enemy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America. For all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he calls up from Kim Jong-un, we sent love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. For President Trump to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them. Both of them, you know, we made it public.
God.
I'd like to see him take one, just one.
Oh,
A real easy one.
God.
Like go through the first 5 questions, he couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was.
Trump literally
25, 30
can't
years
walk
ago.
without a golf cart anywhere.
But I'm in as good a shape
Oh,
as I was
God.
years ago.
And morbidly obese.
But I was willing to take
God.
a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them.
I aced
Ronnie
them.
Jackson, who's a great guy,
Ah.
he's the White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And both, one of
What was
them said
it?
they'd never
Person,
seen
woman,
anything.
man,
Thank you.
camera, TV. What was it?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's your, anyway, just take a look at what he
See,
says.
Biden should have hit him with this. What Biden should have hit him with he tried was Ronnie Jackson said Trump grew 2 inches in his 70s. That's what they should have hit him on. Really? This is the same doctor who said you grew 2 inches at age 73. Okay. Okay.
Carry your own bag. And you can do it.
He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap, 8. But I had, you know,
I see you swing, I know you swing.
Okay, let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern
Woo.
that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted,
Oh.
you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now
This
that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see
Okay.
my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III. And we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III.
That's a Putin talking
and he's
point.
driving us there. And Kim
That's a
Jong-un
Putin talking point.
and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
Going to World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we're a powerful nation. We're a wonderful, it's because of the people, not me, it's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because of our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
He's going to go back to somebody else.
Just to finish what he said, if I might.
No!
Russia,
No!
they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from
God.
Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing.
God.
Not to do it. Not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
a war that should have never started. It would have never started, ever.
Oh, God.
and he's going to take Ukraine.
Jump in, Dana.
You know, you asked me
Do your
questions.
fucking job.
He's got us in such a bad.
She's just sitting there doing nothing.
With Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, "I will never settle until such time."
Jump
They're running
fucking
out of people,
in.
They're running out of soldiers. They've
Oh,
lost so
God.
many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old,
Unbelievable.
all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never
God.
attacked.
President Trump, the question was, will
Oh.
you accept the results of the election, regardless
Okay,
of who wins?
good.
Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather
Okay.
accepted these.
Jesus.
But the fraud
Oh.
and everything else was ridiculous. And
Oh.
we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely,
Oh.
there's nothing I'd rather do. It would
The
be
fraud
much
in
easier for me to
2020.
do
And
that
again, she should have gone, there wasn't fraud.
than running again.
There wasn't significant
I wasn't
fraud.
really going to run until I saw the horrible job.
There
he
wasn't
did.
significant fraud.
He's destroying our country. I would be very
Yeah,
happy
seriously,
to be
Manda.
someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again,
God.
no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he
God.
can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up by numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see, you're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state
Yeah.
or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accept anything, you can't stand loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back
Oh.
with more from the CNN
I
president.
mean, this is the problem. You can't let somebody like Trump go on TV and lie nonstop. Our media plays these games where, again, the two moderators from CNN think that their job is to let I guarantee you, this is the thing. Our job is to let the candidates argue with each other. We don't get involved. Well, I mean, if one candidate's lying nonstop and not answering a single question, it is your job. Because first of all, let's have a rule. Candidates who lie should be called out on their lies, whether they're Biden or Trump, right? Call them out. Say, no, that's not true. Call them on it. Make that a prerequisite of the debate. And any candidate that doesn't answer the question, you're allowed to interrupt them and say, excuse me, you're not answering the question. That's it, right? It is, I mean, they're playing, this is the problem though with our media. This is where, again, media enables fascism because they're playing this game of, oh, I know, I know he's an authoritarian, but it would be wrong for us to call him out for his lies and not answering questions. It's the Democrats' job to defend democracy, not ours. Forget defending democracy. Stand up to both candidates equally. If they lie, call them out on it, right? Fact check them both. I mean, if Biden doesn't answer the damn question, call Biden out on it. How freaking hard is this? It's not that the media is bought, Marie. It's that they've got this crazy notion of fairness. I guarantee you, Jake and Dana are sitting there and they're thinking, it's not my job to call out the other candidate. It's the other candidate's job. My job is to ask the questions and make sure they follow the rules. But if Biden doesn't hit Trump, it's almost like they look at it like a boxing match, right? Well, my job is to referee. My job isn't to jump in if the one guy's losing. Like that's the way they look at it, right? You have to punch each other. I don't punch. And it's like, no, they're literally breaking the rules by not answering the questions, right? And they're literally breaking the rules by lying. Like, I mean, that's like the rules of democracy. Oh my God. It's right. The Boebert interviewer, honestly, the Boebert interviewer was almost too much, I would say. I mean, I enjoyed it, but he was almost too much. But you need something between, this interview out in Colorado for Lauren Boebert, who's this crazy right winger. But it's, you just can't let this stuff go. I mean, And Biden's not doing well tonight, obviously. And Trump is way less crazy than normal, which is helping Trump a lot. Absolutely. But again, Biden's missed so many points you could have hit Trump on. Nothing you can. I mean, that's not CNN's job. But when they lie, you call them out. And Trump, I mean, this is Trump's biggest threat to democracy has been the lies, because the lies are always covering up the misdeeds. And not answering, but again, not answering the fucking questions. My God. Literally, you go, when he says, I'm going to go back to Ukraine, you say, no, sir, this question is about fentanyl. You're not going back to Ukraine. You know what I mean? The question is about fentanyl. That's it. Biden has not been lying too. That's the problem. You don't get to say shit like that. If Biden had been lying, I'd be fine with CNN calling him out. But you Trump supporters have got to stop this bullshit of claiming that Biden and Democrats lie as much as Trump. Trump lies more than any Republican on the planet, and he lies more than any Democrat on the planet. The man is a unique pathological liar. Other Republican candidates don't lie like him. He is unique and he's dangerous. And now they're closing statements. This will be fun. Jesus.
From the block that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience, or anyone out watching this today, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said, nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that will be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior, all along what's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have childcare. We're going to significantly increase the credit that people have for childcare. We're going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We had the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs. But he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's you've never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers. Instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation. But it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of the debate.
Well, the problem is CNN can't analyze this because it was CNN's bad debate. That's gonna be tough. Maybe MSN. I'm gonna have to watch MSNBC. MSNBC. Let's see if MSNBC has the balls to call out CNN for this.
Right, this night will be remembered in reverse as the
Jeez.
president became sort of stronger.
Jesus.
Literally his voice, the strength of his voice over the course of the night, probably peaking towards.
I mean, Biden did a terrible job. Trump did better than Trump normally does because he didn't sound crazy. You know, Biden was awful. And CNN did just a horrific job. I mean, you know, Biden, I saw a number of people saying Biden was over-prepared, which he was. You know, I mean, you can't, Biden was too prepared. He was like trying to remember talking points and everything else. I mean, literally, I will say this. See, this is why I always say this, by the way, too. Like, Trump.
It's hard to tell what he was saying. So weak, and is halting.
Trump knows how to market. Biden's people are insane. Trump didn't answer the fucking questions. Biden's people should have literally been like, you're coming out there and you're going to have 3 talking points. Abortion, January 6th, and January 6th is all about democracy and everything else. And maybe it's, and you're a felon. That would be it. Felon, abortion, and January 6th. Every fucking question. Fentanyl, talk about abortion, January 6th, and felon. Like, do what Trump did. That's all you have to do. But they prepared Biden so much. That he was a disaster. It literally should have been like, you got 3 talking points. Just go back to your talking points. You know? And stuff like fentanyl, Biden knows how to answer questions on the drug crisis. Biden knows how to answer questions on the border. He doesn't even like on abortion, right? He gave bad answers. Like Biden can't talk about abortion against Trump, who literally got abortion outlawed in this country. I mean, how hard is it? Like, but I really think to some degree, they just shouldn't have. Biden let himself get over prepared. But also, he's old. He was never good at arguing anyway, and he's old. You know? Ugh. Man. Abortion isn't outlawed. It's outlawed in 20 states. Yeah. And you people are trying to outlaw in vitro fertilization. You're trying to outlaw contraception around the country. Don't even. You're trying to make it so that pharmacists can't give out abortion drugs. Please. It's not outlawed. 20 freaking states, it's outlawed now because of you people. Again, fess up. You're anti-abortion. You want to ban abortion in the country. Republicans literally want to ban it at the federal level in every state. That's the goal right now. Admit it. Own it. But like to sit here and pretend, this is what drives me nuts with Republicans. But somebody on TikTok, they take extreme positions, and when you call them out on their extreme positions, they lie about it. This person's literally trying to say that they're not, Republicans aren't anti-abortion. You're trying to ban it nationwide. You literally have legislation to ban it nationwide. You are responsible for Roe v. Wade being gone. It is the Supreme Court decision that protected a woman's right to choose in America for 50 years. You killed it. It was your platform for years to kill it, and you killed it. You're anti-abortion. You want to ban abortion. You want to ban contraception. It's in your freaking platform. You want to ban contraception. Admit it. Just freaking admit it. But like for you guys to be, but for Republicans today to pretend like you're not anti-abortion, I mean, like, is there any position you people believe in that you won't deny? But especially abortion. Abortion. I mean, it's not even, I don't know if those of you who aren't from America maybe can't appreciate this. For Republicans to claim today that they're not anti-abortion is insane. It's like for them saying they don't believe in God or something. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break. Oh my God. Just admit what you believe in. Admit what your party's policies are. And if you can't win, then you can't win. but don't try to pretend like abortion hasn't been outlawed. In 20 states, abortion has been outlawed. My God. I mean, it's just amazing. Again, they lie. Like, own these issues. If you're going to put this stuff as your platform, own the damn issue. But my God. Oh, dear Lord. Oh, anyway, Robin. I don't know what ASA means, Robin. Always spot on, maybe? I don't even know what ASA means. But thank you. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Anyway, man. All right, thank you, Megan. Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, at least admit that the Republican Party is anti-abortion and then argue it. But what drives me crazy is, and I'm sorry, I don't like it when Democrats do this either. I don't like it when people lie in politics. It drives me crazy. It is a pet peeve of mine. Stick to a position and defend it, but don't freaking lie about your position. Like, whether it's Dems or Republicans, God, it pisses me off when politicians lie about their positions. And it usually is the more extreme ones, frankly, whether it's far left or far right, that try to pretend like, oh, I never said that, or I don't believe in that. And you're like, if you're a freaking, I mean, again, I'm not a socialist. If you're a freaking socialist, admit it and own it. But don't try to be like, well, you know. And the same thing for the right wing. I mean, my God, anyway. Well, that was not fun. Again, overall, Biden sucked. Trump was way better than I expected. Trump still is Trump. So it was all lies and just, I mean, it was all lies out of Trump, and he wouldn't answer the questions. Biden was incoherent. Again, totally honest. Biden was incoherent and Trump lied. I mean, that was pretty much, Trump lied and wouldn't answer a single question, and Biden was incoherent, which means Trump won, so to speak, because Trump came off being at least with his head together, whatever, right? I mean, absolutely. But my God, oh my God. And again, and CNN lost the debate because CNN didn't know what was coming. No, Biden answered the questions, correct. Biden, I think, just did a bad job answering questions, but he answered the questions. You know? I mean, part of the question becomes, you know, and somebody asked this earlier, and I don't know the answer. I think maybe one of you guys had asked, I think, on TikTok, and said, you know, somebody on TikTok did answer. They said, like, historically, do debates matter? I don't really know. I mean, first of all, I will tell you, debates usually take 2 or 3 days to sort of crystallize in terms of the public perception. It usually isn't right after the debate. It's usually 2 or 3 days later that this, and sometimes you will think one person won, but it was the other. I don't think in this case anybody's going to think Biden won, but for example, I was watching on Twitter Frank Luntz, who's a Republican pollster, and he was saying that he had a focus group of like voters in the middle. And as the debate was going on, his focus, this was about halfway through the debate though, his focus group, and again, he's a Republican pollster, his focus group halfway through the debate was starting to turn against Trump because they thought Trump was being too mean, which is interesting, right? Like, as much as Biden was just not doing a good job, Trump getting mean suddenly started shifting the focus group away from Trump, even though Biden wasn't doing a good job. So like, that's where you don't know what's going to happen in a few days in terms of the overall perception of the debate. You also don't know when it comes down to it. Look, I've said this from the beginning. Biden's old and Trump is a felon and a crook and a traitor. And when it comes down to it, Trump supporters are still going to support him. Biden supporters are still going to support him. And it's the people in the middle. And the people in the middle can look at Biden and, you know what? Biden is too old, but I will take somebody who's too old over a traitor who tried to violently overthrow the country, who committed 34 felonies and counting, who raped a woman. I mean, I just like, at some point, and who sides with America's enemies and is a crook. He's just a freaking grifting crook. I mean, and tried to violently overthrow the government. I mean, I'm quite serious. Like, in the end, you've got the voters in the middle, and are they going to be more turned off by an old guy who's clearly old versus a crook who's anti-American and tried to overthrow the government? I mean, you would hope in the end, people would say, I'll hold my nose and vote for the old guy rather than overthrow the government, right? Rather than end democracy in America. But voters are funny, right? I mean, last time I told you guys, maybe I'll end with this, but I was, BBC had me on BBC Radio overnight after the election when Trump won in 2016. And I remember I was so pissed off because it was like I was supposed to come on maybe at midnight or 11 o'clock, I don't know what. And they put me off until like 2 a.m. And I mean, I was exhausted at this point. Obviously, we were all just depressed and everything else, 2016, right when Hillary lost to Trump. But at the same time, it was 2 a.m. I'm exhausted. I'm in New York City. BBC finally beams me in. There's some other American professor on the call. They were talking about Trump winning. And the professor is saying, well, I think you'll see that Trump will moderate and Congress will keep him in check and blah, blah, blah. And I said, this election is a disaster. I think you take Trump at his word, right? We've seen who he is in this campaign. He's going to do exactly what he said he's going to do. And this man is going to be a disaster for democracy. He's going to be a disaster for the world. And literally the CNN host, the BBC host goes, oh, John. Like, oh, I mean, I don't know about that. And they dismissed me and said, well, thank you for joining us, John. We're going to continue with the professor. They fucking kept me like 2 hours late till 2 a.m. on the BBC. They kept me 2 hours late, had me on for like 3 minutes, didn't like the fact that I said, I think Trump is going to be a disaster for America and the world, because they had a professor from an American university in the Northeast who said, well, I think there's a lot of exaggeration about Trump. And it was like, okay, hello. Who got it right? Thank you. Anyway, oh my God, I was so pissed about that though. I was just like, and literally after 3 minutes cutting me off, and I'm like, you kept me up till 2 a.m. to cut me off because I'm saying Trump is going to be a disaster. Anyway, oh my God. All right, guys, I want to go. It's 11 o'clock at night. I need to go put on something. I'm not going to watch this, that's for sure. I'm going to put on something else, chill out. I'll be back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern time. We'll do our Ukraine update. We'll talk about this as well to kind of get a sense after this too. And remember, Saturday morning, we've got our show for the paid subscribers. So TikTok and YouTube, any of you guys who have SNN next to your name are the paid subscribers, or on YouTube, the green names. And join us Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time, US. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Exactly. I'm going to go relax now in front of the TV. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. It was fun anyway. It wasn't fun, but it was fun. So, all right. See you all. Boop.